Hey, welcome into Sports Beat KC. This is Rustin Dodd of the Kansas City Star. It is Tuesday night where we're recording this after the Royals 2-0 loss to the New York Mets in their second game of a two-game series. Here, going to wrap up the Royals' first two games of the regular season. They got 2 days off coming up. Here with Sam Mellinger at Kauffman Stadium. Sam, what's up?
How are you, Rustin?
I'm doing okay.
I like your shoes.
Thank you.
Good.
They're versatile shoes. People make fun of Chuck Taylor Converse because they're kind of cliche these days, but I feel like
Screw those people.
Yeah, they're like a versatile shoe.
Yeah.
And we work in a business where you can wear shoes where it doesn't matter.
That's right.
So if anybody like tough guy radio guy out there in the world listen to this, he can
they can meet us 60 feet 6 inches, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's recap the Royals' first 2 games of the season.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with the opener or the one we just saw?
Let's start with the one we just saw. It's fresh on the mind.
Yeah. So the Royals essentially got dominated by Noah Syndergaard, and I don't think that's necessarily a reflection of anything on the Royals' part, but he was nasty. Basically was throwing 99 with like a 93 mile an hour slider.
99 with movement.
Yeah. Like,
give me a break.
There was a Royals official who was walking out of the game tonight and essentially said, "You guys just saw the best pitcher in baseball."
Yeah.
Like, he was blown away by how good Syndergaard was.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to feel bad, it's probably the Toronto Blue Jays, who traded Noah Syndergaard for R.A. Dickey.
How good would they be?
Yeah.
With that offense. Like, I mean, the Royals, essentially had no chance, really, against Syndergaard. Like, he had, I think this is right, at least at one point, 7 plate appearances against the Royals with a runner in scoring position. And there were 6 strikeouts and 1 walk to Eric Hosmer in those plate appearances, at least of the first 7. And he was basically that good the rest of the time, too. Like, yeah. I mean, he just, like you said, like when you're throwing 99 with movement, and, I know some people are saying, like, the Royals were chasing pitches outside the zone. I mean, 1, that's what the Royals do. And 2, that happens when you're throwing 99 with movement. So I just... They got beat by the better pitcher. I don't think anybody in baseball. I don't think there's out of the 29 teams that Noah Syndergaard can face. Like, there's nobody that would have beat him today. That was crazy.
No, I mean, they could have probably cashed in a run in the first inning after Escobar had the leadoff triple. So
you'd like to,
yeah,
but I don't know how you.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean. Even when they loaded the bases in the 6th inning, they loaded the bases on an air dropped third strike, 2 fielders' choices, which really could have been double plays if you actually have some good infield defense.
Yeah.
And then there was a single and a walk.
Yeah.
It was like kind of a classic Royals rally, but it wasn't like they were really having. It's not like they had Syndergaard on the ropes at any point.
No, not at all.
It was sort of like they stumbled into this opportunity to score, and then Syndergaard threw a 95 mile an hour slider followed by 2 93 mile an hour sliders, which Ned Yost said after the game that he didn't think there was anybody on earth
that was a great
who could have hit those pitches.
He's probably right. That was crazy. They had no chance today. They had the Royals have a really good chance of making the playoffs again, and really good chance of playing in the World Series and all that. And they had no chance against that guy today.
This is kind of makes you wonder. The Mets have Matt Harvey and they have Jacob deGrom, who are really frontline guys, but I don't think I think Syndergaard has a chance to be better than both of those guys.
I do too. I mean,
I don't know how durable he's going to be, but man, he was nasty.
Well, some of it, this is a little inside baseball, but he never threw a slider much last year. I think I read a story where he only started throwing it in September, and that is a big time pitch for him. Because it's a little bit of a. It sounds stupid because he's throwing it 93, 94, but it's a little bit of an off-speed pitch for him. And it's got a ton of movement. It's a strikeout pitch. And he was good last year before he started throwing the slider, and now with the slider, he's just if that guy makes 33 starts this year, I mean, he's going to win the Cy Young, and he's going to have an all-time kind of year. That was nuts. That was bonkers.
I feel like we're probably overblowing a little bit just because it's the second game of the season. This is what you do, but like, there's never been a starting pitcher who's throwing 99 with the regularity that he does.
You know, it was weird. I was thinking about this. Like, Kelvin Herrera came in to throw the seventh. Well, I think it was the seventh, right?
Yeah.
Or seventh or eighth or whatever. And like, he was not throwing as hard as the starting pitcher on the other side. And I don't think that's ever happened before.
So the Royals lost 2-0. They're 1-1. They're gonna have 2 days off.
Stupid
here, which is okay. It's stupid unless you're the beat writer who doesn't have to work as much the next couple of days.
There you go.
So
and you got 10 straight coming up after that.
Yeah, I'm actually okay with this this 2-day break. That's fine.
Yeah.
In fact, baseball, hey, think about it. You know, like,
what's wrong with an 82-game schedule? Works in the NBA.
What's wrong with an occasional two days in a row off per month? Play a doubleheader like on a Sunday, and then take 2 days off or something like that.
But wouldn't the beat writer rather have like 1 day off, and then instead of 10 days straight, it's like 4 games break, then 6 games?
Yeah, probably, but we'll enjoy these next couple days.
People are feeling really sorry for you too.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's recap the first game.
Yeah,
it's still sort of fresh, and then we can talk about other kind of topics that don't necessarily matter that much at this point in the season. But the Royals open with a victory, kind of a classic Royals victory, 4-3 on Sunday. Anything that you took away from that game other than the obvious kind of, this is sort of what the Royals do, and it looks like they're going to do it again?
Like, not really. I guess there were 2 things. One was there was that ball that Cespedes misplayed in left field. It was an easy fly ball. It's the kind of ball that, you go watch a game in the Sunflower League, and whoever's playing left field makes that play. He actually misplayed another ball tonight. He came in on a ball that ended up bouncing on the warning track. There were a few defensive miscues like that that the Mets made, and when you think about it, those are the plays that you don't see the Royals make much. They have kind of an everyday, every pitch concentration that I think is like really important and really impressive, and kind of like a huge symbol of their evolution from the days when they were terrible. The other thing, and this is kind of a parallel point, but I was kind of impressed with how they played after what I know was an emotional F yeah moment for them when they watched the video with Lucas Duda, Noah Syndergaard, and all those guys like lined up down the third base line. They're watching that video. The trophy is on the field. The flag goes up over the Hall of Fame building. Like, I thought, I think I may even said this to you. Like, I thought they were going to lose. I thought they were going to lose like 6-1, and just because like the focus was all about that pregame celebration, that would have been super easy to do, and they didn't. They won the game. They beat a good pitcher. They beat a really good team that's probably going to be in the playoffs again. And there's something about that. There's something about what that says about the team that I think is really impressive.
Yeah, you know what stuck out to me, and this is slightly what we saw in the World Series, but like the Royals' defense is obviously really good, but what stands out when you play a team like the Mets is the Mets, like, Cespedes dropped the ball and they had some other kind of defensive wobbles in this series, but it's also like there's 2 or 3 guys on the Mets who are like not really good defenders. I mean, like, there's Duda, and then there's the shortstop Asdrubal Cabrera is sort of maybe not as strong as he once was when he was younger, and so like there's spots on the field where like a ball is hit and you instinctively think like, oh, that that might be an out, and then it ends up dropping. Like, the Royals don't have like anything really in their defense that ever seems like it's like a hole or a weakness, or like last year, maybe for instance, there was stretches in right field where Alex Rios would have some issues, or wouldn't have maybe the range, or wouldn't get to a ball. but it's like it just seems like there's never any doubt that plays are going to be made.
Yeah, like I don't have these numbers right in front of me, but like I think it would be interesting to look at like ERA, like earned runs given up versus runs given up, and I think that the Royals probably rank a lot higher in the American League in runs given up than they do earned runs given up, just because like the defense, protects that. Like, the one defensive, and this was wiped away when they traded for Ben Zobrist, and I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out during the year. The one defensive weakness that always stuck out to me was Omar Infante's arm. Omar Infante has terrific footwork at second base, like turning the double play, like it's beautiful. It's what a second baseman should look like. But that arm and shoulder just were not allowing him to make strong throws. And I know he feels healthier this year, and so maybe that's not going to be an issue. But that's something that the one thing. But even that they got a backup playing. Christian Colon can play the position. So, but that is really nitpicking. Because they've got, I know he's never won a Gold Glove, but they got a Gold Glover in center, Gold Glover in left, the guy who won the Gold Glove in short, first base catcher. I mean, they've got it all covered.
Awesome. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be back and maybe preview the rest of the week for the Royals and talk a little bit about the next couple weeks. Hey, we're back. You're listening to Sports BKC. Rustin Dodd here with Sam Mellinger at Kauffman Stadium after the Royals 2-0 loss to the Mets on Tuesday afternoon/evening. Okay, Sam, the Royals are going to have 2 days off here, and then they're going to play 3 games against the Twins. Then they're going to go on the road and play the Astros, and then they're going to go out to Oakland for their first road trip, West Coast swing. So they're going to start playing some games like on an everyday basis, unlike their first week here, which has been sort of strange. But it's still going to be sort of the first 2 weeks of the season. And the question is, and I think you wrote about this for the newspaper on Wednesday, but it's been 2 games, so this is like even an extreme version of it. But like, when is it okay to make any sort of what's the word? Any sort of judgment on the Royals or certain players or anything regarding the 2016 baseball season. What is how much time do we have to wait?
So I asked a bunch of people that question, and Ned Yost said 2 weeks, 2 weeks of games. Eric Hosmer did not have an answer. He even said that's a great question. He said he just doesn't have an answer. He doesn't know because, 3 weeks, a hot 3 weeks can change a bad season. A cold month can change a good season. Joaquin Soria said it depends on who's asking. And he said if it's the owner, you want to be performing well at the time. And, if it's a fan, you better have performed well the night before. Mike Moustakas wouldn't answer the question on an individual basis, but he said as a team, he looks at the standings after the All-Star break, which is a long time from now. I've always thought May 1st is, give me a month and or at least the better part of a month. And, if you're knocking the cover off the ball, okay, that's cool. You still have five months to go, but that's more than just a hot week or two. You know what I mean? I know that Dayton Moore, and he's not unique in this, but, Dayton has always talked about 40 games, a quarter of the season to kind of judge your team and know what you need and stuff like that. Coincidentally, that's why when they used to fire their hitting coach every year.
It was right around May 1st or right a little bit after that.
It was always Memorial Day. Yeah, they were like that was 40 games. So, but to me, it's always been about a month. That was Mike Moustakas is a good example last year.
Yeah,
he was Babe Ruth in April, and that was long enough that he's not going to be Babe Ruth for 6 months, but that was long enough for me at least to kind of be confident that he's a different hitter.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's 2 different parts of this conversation. I think one is how long to judge a guy or judge the team. I think 40 games is the right thing, but I do think that you can't necessarily make wholesale judgments. But in terms of being concerned or alarmed with certain things that are going on with the team, I think you can almost do that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, like Joaquim Soria gave up 3 runs in the opener, and the opener is magnified, so that gets discussed. But it's sort of like, who cares that he gave up 3 runs in the opener? Like, if he went out and threw a scoreless inning today, he looked pretty good. He looked good in spring training.
Yeah.
He said his command was off the first day. He gave up a couple of bloop singles. It's like, it was, I don't know, it's just like sort of fluky. But if he went out over the next 2 weeks and had like 3 bad outings, like, it might not be ready to like make judgments on Joaquim Soria, but at least then it would be like sort of like, okay, like what's going on? Yeah, like something might be wrong with him, like what's going on?
Yeah.
Whereas like I feel like even if it's like he gave up 3 runs in the opener, and somebody on Twitter was like, and they won 4-3, and somebody on Twitter was like, the only post-game reaction I want is from Joaquim Soria.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like, but like, what's, you know, is one game. Like, what's...
Some of that is like case by case too, right? Like, you know, like Joaquim Soria is a man with a track record.
Yeah.
This is his, I think, 9th big league season. He's been an all-star. He had a ERA around 2.5 last year. You know, you kind of feel like you know what you're going to get. Like, you know, Raymond Fuentes, like, you can't really say that about.
Yeah.
You know, like, if Ray Fuentes and Alex Gordon have the same stats after 2 weeks, like, you're a lot more concerned about one of those guys than you are the other. So some of it's case by case, but gosh, it's just like the overreaction. And I hope we're not like, I hope I'm not like picking at straw man here, you know.
Yeah.
But like,
I think there is a little bit of that, but it's true. It's like, is there any comparative thing in other sports for like the first 2 to 3 weeks of a baseball season, in terms of like, just, you got to basically consume it with basically like, like, none of this really matters. I mean, like, it matters in terms of like, there's going to be wins and losses, and you don't want to bury yourself. But in terms of making judgments, it's almost, the data size is so small that it's like, it's hard to do.
The only thing that comes close, or like maybe this is like just the first thing that's popping in my mind, and it's something you have experience with, is the annual December freakout about KU basketball.
Yeah.
When, you know, they lose to Davidson at the Sprint Center, or like, you know, whatever, like people, oh, this is the year, they suck now, you know, whatever. And then, you know, by the end of the year, it turns out okay. Like, because even in an NFL year, like 1 or 2 games, like, that is a chunk of the season, and those are games that happen. Like, you know, and those, I think that the first, like, because it's the same relative chunk of the season. I think the first NFL game is I feel more comfortable making a judgment off of 1 NFL game than I do 10 Major League Baseball games, and it's kind of the same chunk of the season. But I don't know. It's just like there's so many games that you just forget. Like in the summer, we go on vacation, or, you know, you just hang out with your buddies for a weekend or whatever, and you don't watch any baseball. Those games count, you know, but you don't ever think about them. They count the same as these games right now that we're all, you know, kind of focusing on.
Well, it's, I don't know, if you watch sports and you consume sports, it's like you want to discuss it with people and think about it, and it's like, what are you supposed to say? It's like, well, like, interesting game tonight, fellas. Like,
that's how I felt writing my column tonight, actually.
Interesting game tonight, fellas. Let's all be rational people and just take it for what it's worth. See you tomorrow. Like, that doesn't make for great copy, or great for like, oh, hi ho, cheerio, mates, like, another game tonight.
It would have been a lot better if I could just pull out the Skip Bayless or something on the Royals in today's column, but instead I wrote, it was a struggle. Please read it on kansascity.com.
Yeah, but so this is another kind of hot takey, speaking of that sort of question. But the Royals started 7-0 last year. Was it 7-0? And then and then I think they were like 9-3. And so, does that, like, they're obviously, like, let's just put it out there. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll be wrong in a week, but let's go ahead and assume they're not. Well, they're not going to start 7-0.
That's a fact.
That's a fact, and they'll likely not going to start 9-3. I think it's more realistic that this is like a 12-8 team in like 20 games, or
Sure.
11-9, or 13-7, maybe. Who knows? But something in that neighborhood. Does that also have no really bearing? I mean, you obviously wins count in April like they count in September, but psychologically or anything like that, does it matter what the Royals' record is in 20 games as long as they're in that sort of like window of a game or two around 500, maybe game or two over?
Well, you know that saying, like they always say, you can't win a golf tournament on Thursday or Friday, but you can lose.
Yeah.
Like I think that's true in baseball. You can't win a division in April, or you can't win a division in the first 20 games. But if you start 3-17 or something, or 5-15, you might be buried, especially in a division like the American League Central, and especially in a league like the American League, where like unlike the National League, where you've got 6, maybe even 7 teams that really aren't trying to win. Everybody's trying in the American League, and so I think that part of it is important. But unless it's something like the 5-15 or 4-16, like I think this group is past that kind of thing. Like you used to worry about them playing in front of big crowds. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You used to worry about George Brett was brought in to be the hitting coach to, in Dayton Moore's words, mentally save the team. They needed a swag coach, and that's what they brought George in to do. And I think that this group is beyond that. I don't think if they're 10-10 or 8-12 or something like that, there's no panic. I think they'll be fine with that.
Yeah. You know what you mentioned? I do remember when Luke Hochevar went out on opening day and got lit up in 2012. Ned Yost, I was having a conversation with him during spring training. We were talking about the low points of his tenure, and in kind of true Ned fashion, he kind of said, there weren't low points,
Sure.
but then he sort of at this end of this conversation, he sort of conceded well, of course there were low points.
Yeah.
And he sort of, and one of them was, he mentioned, he's like, I remember one opening day where, we just got hammered, and Luke had a rough day, and he's like, it was and I was like, yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah. I'll never forget this. It was the home opener, it wasn't the season opener.
Yeah.
But it was a home opener, and they were booed 16 minutes after the
Yeah,
first pitch.
yeah.
I think they gave up 7 runs in the first. It was, and that was I forgot which year that was.
And it was that
12.
That might have been 12. Although was it the same year where they started out 0 and I think they lost 7 or 8 in a row at home, and they started 3-12.
They did not win a home game.
Yeah.
I think until May.
I think that was the same year.
Yeah. I think they opened.
I think that was
Anaheim
2000 and I think that was 12.
That was our time.
That was the Art Time gang.
There were a lot of bad. I remember there was one year Zach Greinke was pitching it must have been the season opener. But either way, there was a pop fly that landed around the pitcher's mound, and nobody caught it, and he had this great quote. He said, "I was just looking around, where is everybody?
Yeah.
Where'd everybody go?" And I think they're beyond. And they were so fragile at that time. Not that they were good, talent wise anyway, but they were so fragile that Zach year. Even in 12, obviously, that stuff would affect them. But I really believe that this group is beyond that.
Yeah, I think I remember that specific play because I think it included Willie Bloomquist making the opening day start at third base.
Makes sense.
After Alex Gordon had one of his injuries. I don't know if it was his thumb or his hip, or it was one of those.
That might have been the year that Alex got hurt in spring training, sliding head first.
Was that the thumb?
Thumb or wrist or something, yeah.
But, yeah, I remember that. But it also reminds me of the Royals aren't that far removed from those days.
Right.
Yet, I've done a lot of radio and some TV stuff during spring training, and this afternoon I was doing an MLB Network thing right before the game, and much like the same questions that they ask every time, Brian Kenny asked, is this team still hungry? You know, sort of that question.
Sure.
And every time I answer this question, you know, it's sort of what Ned Yost has said all spring training. What the guys have said, you know, like they think they can make history, and they are like closing in on a sort of quasi dynasty if they would win another American League title, and they could, you know, do stuff that only a, you know, certain number of teams have done. And every time you say this out loud, it almost like I instinctively say, and how crazy does that sound?
Right. Yeah.
Because it's like
There is a lot of that.
Yeah, it's like you're saying this like the Royals think they have a chance at a dynasty, and as you say those words, you say,
Yeah.
"Am I saying like what?"
Yeah. There's a lot of scar tissue built up from a lot of bad years where you just you know, that was the Royals' identity, was that they were crappy. That whole thing, like it is weird though, right? Like it's a legitimate thing to ask. You know, the are they hungry thing, because if if they go 500 this year, if they never play in the playoffs again until you know, Raul Mondesi is hitting cleanup or whatever, like if you know what I mean, like if this group is done winning in the postseason, this group is like the best Royals team ever. You know what I mean? Like Eric Hosmer and Sal Perez and a lot of these guys will be in the Royals Hall of Fame, and you know, I think Alex Gordon has a chance to have his number retired by the Royals someday, like a chance. Like, I mean, they've already accomplished so much. They've accomplished more than a lot of guys accomplish in their big league careers who have good careers. So there is a human nature thing that goes against that, you know. But like, it's easy to forget this now. But like after 14, they could have come into 15 not as hungry, you know, because they were the group that broke through. But so I think that, and the other part about that too, like maybe this is more practical, is that with the exception of Alex Gordon, like, you know, these guys haven't. This is a group that hasn't been paid yet. Yeah. You know, like they have a lot of like individual incentive to keep going, especially Eric Hosmer, especially Lorenzo Cain. You know, he hasn't hit free agency yet. Mike Moustakas, you know, Sal Perez just got a contract, but he's still, you know, playing to build up who he is as a player. I mean, that's the other thing that they've got going for him too.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap up here. Yep. And one, I've got a couple of things. One, a confession, Sam. We recorded a podcast when I was in Surprise still last week, and you were in Kansas City, and we did it over the phone. And we did it for like 42 minutes, and for some reason, it cut off after 26 minutes.
Bastard.
So it never saw the light of day. Although we could have just posted it with like us cutting out in the middle of talking about Wade Davis being one of the best relievers ever.
Right.
But we ended up not getting posted. So one, people are never going to hear that conversation about Wade.
Great conversation.
Yeah, about Wade being one of the best relievers ever. And we also didn't get a chance. We previewed our Royals preview section, which came out on Sunday, and we talked about some of the stories in there, and that never got posted either. So if you haven't gone to kansascity.com or picked up a paper from Sunday, they're probably still around. You can check those out. Sam wrote a really good story about there were two. The first one, I'm trying to remember. I'm getting
memories.
Yeah, it was the memories. Yeah. I was about to say the moments, the memories, the 5 seconds after the championship, which Vahe wrote about. Yeah. There was a lot of savoring the moments in this thing. There was a lot of moments. A lot of moments. A lot of stories about moments in this previous section, which maybe it was almost a review section in some ways. But that was good. And then you also wrote about Johnny Gomes's
the speech before the
speech. The speech before the speech, which he did at the hotel in New York, and is sort of an urban legend, which has now been confirmed and documented for all time.
Right. Internet is forever.
So, in your journalism career, how does watching Johnny Gomes's speech on Christian Cologne's cell phone, where does that rank in terms of coups that Sam has pulled off?
It was really cool, man. Like, it was funny because like I talked to Cologne right after I had talked to Hosmer and Chris Medlin, And both of those guys were like super secretive. They were like, "You're not getting the good stuff from me," and like, "This is all I'll tell you," or whatever. And then I talked to Cologne about it a little bit. And I just like the whole idea of Johnny Gomes, a little intoxicated and standing on a table in a hotel room, giving this like incredible like Barack Obama at the 2008 inauguration kind of speech.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to see it. And and then Cologne was like, "I've got the video on my phone." I was like, "Really?" So he had to clear it with with Gomes. They still talk regularly, but it was really cool to watch. Like the thing that sticks out to me is he's just standing there. Gomes is, and he's on top of a table, like stepping over like cans of beer and boxes of pizza, and like completely commanding the room. And he was clearly like intoxicated, as he well should have been. But he was like, he'd be slurring his words, and then he would get to a part of the speech that he knew was really good, and he would like articulate perfectly, and he would nail every syllable. It was really like that instant transformation was like kind of spooky and really cool to see.
Yeah. I wonder, Johnny Gomes is playing in Japan right now, or is it Japan or Korea? Japan.
Yeah.
So we can't know for sure if he prepared that speech or just pulled it out.
Yeah. I'm sure he had some of it, but it was really cool. Like, I mean, it was what you did to, like, what do you say, like heart and talent and balls and something else, like brains or something like that. It was really well done.
Okay, and then also check out, there's a story about Wade Davis in there.
Yeah,
and
that was great. But I will say, and that story was great, but it was not as good as the Dayton Moore story.
Really?
I think so. I love that Dayton Moore story.
No,
well, keep downplaying it. It was great.
Okay, well, I wrote about a story
and
about
the Wade
Dayton
Davis
Moore.
story was great.
Yeah, the Dayton Moore story was in today's paper.
Yeah.
And it's around kansascity.com. So check that out. And we'll be back next week with hopefully like more interesting stuff to talk about. In addition to not judging the Royals after 2 games, don't judge this podcast in the first week of the season.
Yeah.
Like let it play out.
Right.
Like let it get some sample size before before you get too worked up about the podcast. But hopefully they'll be, as the Royals continue to play, the podcast will be more interesting.
That's right.
So, as always, I'm Rustin Dodd with Sam Mellinger. You've been listening to Sports Beat KC. We'll be back next week.